Democrat supporters have been going through multiple stages of grief since Joe Biden went back on his word and decided to pardon crackhead Hunter. Their emotions range from extreme anger.
You want to get angry? You read the Hallie Biden transcript, and that's Bo's widow. Essentially, he turned her into a crack addict. Their decision to run for president put the entire Democratic Party and the United States of America in the position that it's in now.
Breaking news, President Biden has issued a pardon for his son, Hunter Biden.
Mother... But to come out and to start talking about how it's been a witch hunt, the GOP rather was after him. Well, wait a minute. What have y'all been doing with Donald Trump all of these years? Seems beyond hypocritical, and that was what disgusted me.
Stop acting like y'all the pure party and Republicans aren't. Whether it's skipping the primary process when Biden stepped down and things like Biden pardoning his son.
This pardon is just deflating. Nobody's above the law, we've been screaming. Well, Joe Biden just made clear his son Hunter is above the law.
While some were so depressed that they couldn't even talk.
Questions? Yes, Bolton.
Pardon Hunter Biden was wrong or unwise, puts personal interest ahead of duty.
I got nothing for you on that.
Well, can I follow up on that? Are you concerned with the lack of transparency, lack of honesty around Biden's decision?
As I said, I got nothing for you on that. Nope.
That pardoning anyone on the way out of office, family members.
Thank you. I've got nothing for you on that.
But the question is, they talked about January 6th pardon. Did he not establish a bad precedent for pardons?
I got nothing for you on that. Any other subjects?
Fast and Furious, what do you make of this new news?
I just heard it. I have to process it. I don't have a take. I'm sorry.
Anyone, Michelle, Miriam.
But the majority remained in the denial stage.
Their latest attack has been that Joe Biden has politicized and weaponized the DOJ, right? That was the whole argument around Donald Trump's conviction. And this week, of course, Hunter Biden was found guilty. And Joe Biden has very clearly said he would not pardon his son. He would not commute his sentence. How can Republicans keep making this argument now that Joe Biden has really put it out there? For 4 years, Fox News has been, where's Hunter? And he stood there in a courtroom, flanked by his family, and he's accepted his sentence. Now, we have heard a lot of takes about this pardon over the last day, but it is important to remember a few things. This has absolutely no impact on what Donald Trump has done or will do in the future. It just gives him a new talking point for the next few days. President Biden has a right to do this. It is in the Constitution. If you win the White House, you win the power of the pardon.
The presidential pardon was originally meant to grant the president the power to temper justice with mercy. It was not enshrined in our Constitution so that a dishonorable man could reward his criminal allies, friends, and family for their corrupt practices. I don't have a problem with Biden pardoning his son. He should have pardoned him. The crazies are coming, right? But to me, it's like, pardon more.
These are the funniest Democrat flip-flops after Joe Biden completely f***ed his party. Meet Whoopi Goldberg, the flip-flopper-in-chief, president of Flip-Flopaville.
And one of his most trusted advisors, Sean Hannity, suggested his next move should be pardoning himself and his family to stop the so-called witch hunt. I mean, I don't know that he even has the power to do that. What, does no one read?
Whoopi Goldberg calls it a so-called witch hunt and seems to need a constitutional law lesson in what the president can and cannot do with his pardon powers. Fast forward to 2024, and she seems to have taken a class.
He's the president, the sitting president, and he can do whatever he wants to until his time is up.
Whoopi Goldberg deserves a gold medal for the mental gymnastics she's performed, justifying Joe Biden lying to himself, the world, and God.
Why lie about it for so long?
I'd stop calling it a lie.
Okay, why repeatedly say you're not going to and you do? And secondarily, for the part of this country, half of it that doesn't support Biden, doesn't know him personally, doesn't get to have phone calls, and they're just looking at a system that seems like it's only benefits the people who are in power.
I'm going to say,
what precedent does that set?
Well, here's what it says. It's a precedent for all of us to open our eyes because we've elected someone who is in a similar situation, who didn't have a drug drug problem, who clearly stood and said, I can do this. And he did it. So I think this is very different than any other situation that we have ever dealt with.
So Whoopi Goldberg has such a terminal case of TDS that she thinks it's a knock against Trump that he doesn't do drugs. It is so rich that these people are pretending that it's the corrupt DC establishment that's been under siege and that's been dealing with a witch hunt. This is one of the best ones. Haggard-looking rogue from X-Men. Watch how she defends Joe Biden before the pardon.
And remember, part of Trumpism's dangerousness is that it tears down institutions, important institutions of our democracy. So there is an opportunity here for Biden to say, you know, the jury found him guilty. This is how it's supposed to work. Period, paragraph, end of story.
So Cruella de Vil defending Joe Biden, being a good, proper, lawful president. Here's how she reacted to the news in real time.
Breaking news that we're getting. NBC News is reporting that President Biden is expected to pardon his son, Hunter Biden. Fast and furious. What do you make of this new news?
I just heard it. I have to process it. I don't have a take. I'm sorry.
Anyone, Michelle, Mary.
She has not gotten her talking points yet. She does not have Whoopi Goldberg's skill in mental gymnastics. She can't say Trump is worse because he's not on drugs. So Karine Jean-Pierre, this is the best flip-flop so far. She probably believed Joe Biden when he said he wouldn't pardon Hunter. So I almost feel bad for her. She got completely owned trying to defend it. But here she is denying it beforehand.
Does the president have any intention of pardoning him?
We've been asked that question multiple times. Our answer stands, which is no. The president's been very clear when we've been asked this question.
Is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Well, is there?
I just said no. The president's not going to pardon his son.
One more.
It's no. It's still no.
Will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes. I said I abide by the jury decision. I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
I just want to make sure that that is not going to change over the next 6 months. The president's saying it would not.
It's still a no. It's still a no.
It will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no, and I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No.
She's visibly irritated that she's been asked this question so many times. So imagine how frustrated she was when this news dropped.
I wanted to ask you, could those statements now be seen as lies from the American people? Is there really a credibility issue here given now this announcement?
First of all, one of the things that the president always believes is to be truthful to the American people. That is something that he always truly believes. He came to this decision this weekend, so let's be very clear about that. They targeted him because his last name was Biden.
So she lies and says Biden didn't lie after he lied. It's a lie turducken. And then she's asked whether Hunter Biden would have been pardoned had Harris won the election. Watch what she says.
Do you think this would have happened if Harris hadn't lost the election?
It is a no. I can answer that. It's a no.
So she admits the Hunter Biden pardon wouldn't have happened had Trump lost the election. But I guess that's technically true because Kamala Harris would have done the pardon so that Biden wouldn't have to be called a liar. And then she uses the term war politics. Like war politics is the reason why Hunter Biden's being targeted in a political witch hunt. Is war politics just the Temu version of lawfare?
One political party remains committed to the rule of law and the other doesn't. It's that simple.
Hunter Biden's not above the law. No one is above the law. Democrats stand for the rule of law.
We accept the outcome because that's how the rule of law works.
Because the justice system that convicted his only surviving son is the same justice system he's vowed to protect. And if that doesn't tell you who Joe Biden is, I don't really know what does.
To be honest, the only reason why they went after Hunter the way they did, and I've talked to many federal prosecutors about this, is because he's the president's son.
People have to remember the president has lost 2 children already, and he does not need to lose another one to more political witch hunts.
Crowing from Republicans, but we're talking about, Donald Trump is a convicted felon who literally pardoned his daughter's father-in-law and just made him ambassador to France.
So for anyone that wants to clutch their pearls now because he decided that he was going to pardon his son, I would say take a look in the mirror.
So this is why the Democrat supporters who are slightly more in touch with reality are so pissed off about this. Joe Biden, by pardoning his son, completely removed this talking point, the threat to democracy talking point, from the Democrats' arsenal.
If Hunter's name was Joe Smith,
this case would probably have never even gone to trial, right? That it was always a political witch
Justice
hunt,
Department brought the
and it
case?
was always.
Wasn't, to Scott's point, I mean, wasn't it a lie? I mean, you can defend it, but wasn't it a lie that he was not going to pardon him?
No, I believe the circumstances have changed. I think that we now have a president coming into office who's talking about firing squads, who's talking about running people around the country and making sure that everyone who's his enemy is going to be punished. And Hunter Biden lied about his drug use on a government forum when he was buying a gun. And he failed to file and pay taxes when he was a drug addict. He paid back those taxes with interest. Donald Trump himself was indicted for 17 counts of criminal tax fraud, more than Hunter. And he's going to be the president of the United States.
11 years.
So
you're missing a few things here. 11 years.
Is it me or did she say Donald Trump?
Donald Trump himself.
She's still in the denial stage of grief.
Talking about firing squads.
Who believes that anymore? Dude, the election is over. Stop pretending Trump is El Chapo. But this clip might have been the most devastating. This poor congressman from New York gets to watch his take that aged like milk right in front of him while he has to react to it on live TV. It's kind of sadistic.
In July of 2023, just after that plea deal fell through, this is what you said. I want to watch.
Do you think a pardon for his son would be a mistake?
Yes, and I don't think there's any chance that President Biden is going to do that, unlike his predecessor, who pardoned all of his friends and anyone who had any access to him. And I think you see that in this case, where he kept on, and Merrick Garland kept on, a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney to investigate the president's son. If there is not an indication of the independence of the Department of Justice beyond that, I don't know what we could look for.
What does that feel like, watching yourself back then, reassuring people that Biden was not going to issue a pardon for his son?
Yeah, and I think that if that plea agreement and that plea deal had gone through, there would be no pardon. That was a satisfactory outcome.
It already fallen
through. Sorry?
When you reacted, this was when the deal had fallen through.
So he tries to cover his ass and then she completely nails him. Look at his face.
So when you reacted, this was when the deal had fallen through.
Oh no, he's totally caught.
He meant it because he thought that either he or then Kamala Harris would be president. Didn't expect Trump to return to the White House. Didn't expect Kash Patel to be the next FBI director.
This guy did make a good point. The pardon did come one day after Trump appointed Kash Patel to be director of the FBI. I wonder if there's a connection between that and the Biden pardon.
Let's remove Hunter Biden. Let's just say you have a laptop. It's got maybe child on it. It's got maybe illicit financial transactions on it. It's got illicit possession of firearms, photography, and videos on it. It's got a whole list of people on it that are known criminals.
That sounds exactly like the Hunter Biden.
And here's the most glaring thing. The DOJ and FBI shut off the investigation interview request of Hunter Biden 2 years ago and never allowed it to happen. That cannot happen unless it's coordinated by the deep state.
I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state. And I'd take the 7,000 employees that work in that building and send them across America to chase down criminals. Go be cops.
The worst weapon we have in government is a two-tier system of justice that's been weaponized. And I think it's time that Donald Trump came in there with the sweeping mandate that the American public gave him to return a singular system of constitutional justice.
Exposure of corruption. Put out the documents, put out the evidence. The people need to know that their FBI is restored by knowing full well what they did to unlawfully surveil them.
So Kash Patel wants to publish the Epstein list, the Diddy list, expose the Biden crime family, turn the J. Edgar Hoover building into a museum of the deep state, and bring justice to everyone who lied to the country and world for almost a decade, pushing the Russia collusion hoax, while illegally wiretapping a presidential candidate. No wonder they're afraid of this guy. I could think of no better endorsement of Kash Patel than Joe Biden pardoning his own son to protect his crime syndicate / family going back 11 years. Apparently one of Hunter Biden's companies was potentially involved in the Ebola virus outbreak in 2014.
In all the tens of thousands of emails from Hunter Biden's disgusting laptop, it's been confirmed by independent cybersecurity experts that Joe Biden's son was actually financing biological laboratories in Ukraine. Russian officials claimed the labs were producing biochemical weapons. at the request of the Biden crime syndicate.
There's a lot of really shady US-funded biolabs in Ukraine. 2014 in Ukraine is an interesting year because you have Hunter Biden joining the Burisma board and essentially engaging in a money laundering scheme. You also had a coup, the Maidan Revolution in 2014 in Ukraine, reportedly backed by the US government against Viktor Yanukovych. This is where the US was arming actual neo-Nazis. No wonder the Democrats talk about Nazis all the time. They have a lot of personal experience sending them guns. Naturally, some of the absolute best flip-flops happened in text form. Harry Sisson wrote, "Hey Donald, nobody is above the law in the United States," before reporting that Biden apparently thinks Hunter is above the law. I fully agree with this decision. No one is above the law. No one ever. Joe pardoning Hunter is literally the first spark of joy I've felt since election night. Poor Brooklyn dad, if you're not guilty, you don't need a pardon. Evidently he's guilty. Biden pardoning Hunter is the right thing to do. MAGA would have a field day with him. He's protecting his son. Beautiful. You do realize Biden has already publicly said he won't pardon his son, right? MAGA is big mad that President Biden has pardoned his son. This one's too good. Here, no one is above the law. Not the rich, not the powerful, not the derelict. Keith Olbermann, a few months later. Pardon Hunter? Great. Now pardon everyone else. Every prosecutor, every Biden administration staffer, every media figure, everybody Trump will persecute. 10 million pardons at least. But I love the transformation that Charlemagne the God in particular has gone through since the election. He went from shouting at Anderson Cooper on CNN for not calling Trump a fascist enough to right after the election saying basically that the Democrats tricked him into thinking Trump was a fascist, to now giving Joe Biden and the Democrats hell for once again being caught in an epic lie.
Hunter was singled out because he broke the law. That's number one. He was singled out because he had an illegal gun and tax evasion charges, not because he was the president's son. And I honestly don't care. I just want Democrats to stop acting like they are on this moral high ground politically when they have shown us they're not. They're skipping the primary process when Biden stepped down and things like Biden pardoning his son. Stop acting like y'all the pure party and Republicans aren't. And it also shows me elected officials can do whatever they want as long as they have the political will and courage to do it.
So the flip-flops are funny. Charlemagne the God's existential crisis, hilarious. But all of these people are neglecting the truth about this news. They're pretending that Hunter Biden was pardoned for just being a piece of shit, ordering prostitutes. By the way, getting caught in text messages saying no yellows while ordering prostitutes. Pretty explicit racism. I digress. What this is really about is protecting the Biden crime family, and it actually opens the door to Hunter Biden going to prison. Yes, this might actually backfire in a way that Joe Biden had not considered. If they give Hunter Biden blanket immunity, the Fifth Amendment no longer applies. You cannot incriminate yourself after getting blanket immunity. Therefore, Hunter Biden can now be forced to testify against the big guy. If the Justice Department asks Hunter Biden, how much money did you launder through Ukraine, through China, to your dad, the big guy, the judge can compel Hunter to testify. If Hunter Biden refuses, he can be held in contempt and potentially put in jail until he testifies. So hopefully the plan here is not to Epstein his own son. That's pretty dark. So don't get it twisted. This isn't about lascivious crimes, prostitution, guns, drugs, or even taxes. This is DC we're talking about. It's the dirtiest place on earth. It's about Joe using his crackhead son as the CIA's bagman in Ukraine for every corrupt activity known to man. Oh, and remember Edward Snowden? Yeah, he's still forced to live in Russia because the Obama administration trapped him there several years ago to frame him as a Russian asset. This is long before Trump was even running for office. This was just to help build the Russia narrative because neocons in the deep state can't get over the Cold War. But again, I digress. Either way, the fact that Kash Patel was appointed as director of the FBI and a day later, Joe Biden very conspicuously goes back on his word and pardons Hunter Biden means these people are running scared. They know that the hammer of justice is coming. They know that the people are pissed off at their decadence and corruption. And I am so here for it. If you got this far into the video, I want you to know how much I appreciate you, and I'll see you on the next one.